life on Earth to death. We got
What?
This is the apocalypse. From coast to coast, we've got two host to host. Welcome to another episode of the Podcast. We're to break down and examine intricately prepared top 5 lists for your enjoyment from the Sentinel Tower in parts unknown. I'm your host, Tyler, from second floor studios in Hollywood, California. That's Ben Pearson. Ben, we better get this episode in before the end of the world happens. How are you coping?
I'm coping fairly well, considering we've heard recent reports that a giant comet, I think, is on its way to Earth right now. Asteroid,
there's all kinds of stuff hurtling towards our little planet. This pale blue dot that we call home. And, it's looking pretty bleak. I mean, Wolf Blitzer over at CNN is speculating that all life on Earth could cease to exist, Ben. And, I mean, what better way to go out with a bang, a big bang, than top 5 apocalypses? Ben, do you want to do a list, or do you want to spend time with friends and family?
No, Tyler, I think we're obligated to do a list.
Good.
We got to get one more in just for people so they can really quickly download one more episode.
Yeah.
Speed listen to it on 2 times speed or whatever.
Right.
Get it in right before that comet, that asteroid decimates the entire planet. So let's go ahead and jump into our top 5 apocalypses.
Coincidentally enough, this episode is brought to you by XMEN Apocalypse, or Age of Apocalypse, or Rise of Apocalypse, or what is it called?
And by brought to you by, we mean there's no money exchanging hands.
No,
and
not at all.
The movie simply comes out this weekend. So
today. I'll have to use a different kind of hashtag. Is it Age of Apocalypse?
It is XMEN Apocalypse.
Okay.
That's it.
Maybe I'm confused with the GameCube.
Age of Extinction. That's the Transformers 4.
Oh, that might be it.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a couple different ways that the apocalypse could happen. We're going to talk about our top 5. We better get to it, Ben. Let's go ahead and get started with your number 5.
I'm going to go with one that I actually actively hate, Tyler, and that is the zombie apocalypse.
Oh,
I think
that's the worst.
It's been done to death.
Terrible.
But it I think the worst is a pretty good way to describe it. In the 60s, 70s, sure, maybe it was a fresh concept.
Scarier.
Now, I feel like there's been 40, 50 different zombie properties in the past 10 years alone.
Yeah.
And it's like there's not enough differentiation between any of them to make it worthwhile, with the exception, I would say, of Shaun of the Dead, which is
making fun of zombie franchises.
Yes, and I think warrants its own existence. But then all of the other ones, Walking Dead, it just Tyler, you can't see me right now, but I'm just doing the jerk off motion.
Yeah.
So
I would in a zombie apocalypse allow the zombies to turn me into zombie, so that I wouldn't have to deal with the heavy drama that occurs in the human society of a zombie apocalypse. So I would I would welcome them with open arms, hoping that the zombie that bites me is the zombie of Steve Perry, so that as I'm singing Open Arms, he is running towards me.
And then also maybe you guys could, I don't know exactly how the communication systems are impaired. It depends on what sort of universe you're in, whether you're a fast zombie, a slow one, a grunter, a walker, all these different bullshit things. But maybe, Tyler, in that particular case, you and Steve Perry could form a zombie cover version, a cover band of sorts. When you're not, hunting humans for sustenance, you could just rock out. So that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Hey, how about you create a franchise that focuses on zombie culture, folks? Why is it always got to be the humans? So the zombie culture allows for Journey cover bands because the Steve Perry zombie is the lead singer. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, maybe like if I was a zombie, I would go to a zoo or something where there would be like a pretty decent food supply, and then you wouldn't have to constantly be after, be shambling around looking for human flesh.
Sure.
You could just,
But human flesh is so good.
Yeah, maybe. That's the trick, though, Tyler, is if you never eat it, you never know how good it actually is, and then you don't know what you're missing out on.
It's like wanting Papa John's, but having to settle for Hungry Howie's.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
it's like Hungry Howie's is the zoo in this example, of course.
Yeah. Except
Dave, is our sponsor this week Hungry Howie's? Fuck them.
Except you've never eaten Papa John's in this scenario.
Oh, okay.
So you don't know how good it is.
Interesting.
You're just like, Papa John's, that would probably be good. All right, I'll go back to the Hungry Howie's.
My number 5 apocalypse, and I'm giving the wanking motion as well, is Asteroid. because I think that's what we're facing right now currently. The asteroid is comet, whatever.
So you are dismissively wanking directly at our own apocalypse, our own impending doom.
And within the 5K universe, we are about to be utterly destroyed by a huge asteroid. It's taken out the dinosaurs, Ben. It's left huge, inconvenient holes in the Earth that could have been real estate, could have been very successful real estate. Now it's destroying our podcasting equipment and probably our podcasting mouths, I want to say, our brains.
Probably, yeah.
So that really puts a damper on things. So it's eliminated the dinosaurs. It's eliminated good real estate. It's eliminating us. Asteroids, man, get bent. That's just like, find a different path. You've got all of space to work with.
Yeah.
Why are you hurtling towards us? What are the chances? It's obviously a conspiracy. There's someone sending asteroids to us.
Yeah, somebody's playing billiards up there with an extremely long pool cue, and they're trying to sink one in our corner pocket, Tyler.
Yeah. Now I know that it's called, let's see, an asteroid in space, and then it's a meteor when it's broken our atmosphere, and then it's a meteorite when it lands on Earth. I get it. But asteroids, whether they're on Earth or not, can bite the big one for all I care. And the big one might be another asteroid. I hope they just hit each other out there in space. That'd be pretty cool. Just don't hit us.
And it does look like we're about to bite the big one, so I guess we should move on to my number four, which is natural disasters.
Okay,
Tyler, that's a good.
Dennis Quaid has some experience there.
Yes, a good way for the world to end in what was that movie? The Day After Tomorrow, I think was. The
I was referring to the struggle that he has when he tries to pull himself out of a pool. That's a pretty natural disaster on his part.
Yes. Okay. Well, I see what you did there. I like that reversal there. So yeah, natural disasters. We're talking your Roland Emmerich movies. We're talking, The Day After Tomorrow. We're talking,
Earthquake.
Global warming. We're talking earthquakes.
Yeah.
We're talking
2012
massive fires. We're talking Volcano, the movie with freaking Tommy Lee Jones. We're talking Dante's Peak with Pierce Brosnan.
Oh yeah,
that came out at the same time. We're talking your Deep Impacts. Your
Armageddon.
Well, Armageddon is sort of what you just talked about with the asteroid kind of thing. So
Terminator.
Keep that one off the. Terminator's not a natural disaster. We might talk about that one a little bit later on.
But, I see.
But yeah, we're talking.
Like San Andreas.
Yes, San Andreas.
Starring The Rock.
Massive, things that
fan.
Flooding, ice ages, volcanoes, tidal waves. Your typical massive. The world is turning on humanity because of the horrors that we've inflicted on it as a culture. So
now, Ice Age sounds pretty fun. Don't you want a woolly mammoth voiced by Ray Romano?
I do not, and I don't want that damn squirrel and his stupid acorn. I don't want anything to do with that. I would rather, much like the zombie scenario, I would rather just freeze to death in an ice age so I don't have to pay any attention to Ray Romano, woolly mammoth.
You never know. Once the ice age passes, you could do like an Encino Man situation where you come back in the future because you've been thawed out. Or like Captain America, I guess, if you want to go comic book.
Or a Demolition Man scenario.
Oh, yeah. It was only 30 years.
Yeah.
Get back in your ice case, caveman. It's like, it's only been 30 years. Like, we've been alive for 30 years, so he's not that barbaric.
We remember how it was, David.
Yeah, like, you're the chief of police. You're clearly like 60 or 70 years old. You remember the world he's from. Well, Demolition Man's so good. But yeah, so... natural disasters, if I was going to pick one, I'd pick Ice Age because there's the chance that I'm frozen and then I can come back to life.
Yep, I like it. Yeah, I think you're pretty much screwed with all the other ones. So
yeah, tornadoes, man. Have you seen that Twister?
Twister. That's a good one too.
I can tear a highway right off the ground.
I always seem to turn on the TV and Twister is on. I guess it's because it's the 20-year anniversary or 20. I think that's right. Yeah, it came out in '96, so. And it's always the same part when I turn it on, and Bill Paxton, not Pullman, is driving down the street, and he and his team are racing toward a tornado to put their experimental thing inside of it, and then
storm chasers.
The rival team comes blowing out of the cornfield or something, and Bill Paxton's always like, Jonas, son of a bitch. And that's the only time, the only part that I ever see on TV.
Immediately turn it off.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
well, that's the. I mean, you could pass as a Bill Paxton any day of the week. That delivery was on point.
Son of a bitch.
My number 4 is Death Star from the not the aforementioned, but from the now mentioned Star Wars franchise. There's 2 of them. There were 2 of them. There could have been more. That's my theory, is that the Empire was planning on building multiple Death Stars. What a lot of people don't understand, which a lot of people don't care about now that the expanded universe has been completely obliterated by J.J. Abrams. And Kathleen Kennedy, I guess, to an extent. So in episode 2, I think, you see the blueprints for the Death Star, and that's where Count Dooku takes his thumb drive or whatever onto his shuttle. And it's my understanding that they try to build an army of Death Stars, because then you could really hold the Empire under the iron grip of Emperor Palpatine. But those Death Stars were destroyed pretty efficiently by the Rebel Alliance, even after the first one was completed. Having said that, though, Ben, in a real-world scenario, it could completely and utterly destroy the planet Earth. Like, no question. It destroyed a hugely advanced civilization like Alderaan, although it didn't get a chance to blow up a planet in Return of the Jedi. It did definitely blow up a planet in Star Wars. And, yeah, man, if it ever entered our solar system, we'd be done. We wouldn't even know. Like, you know, President Trump would be like, send a couple of planes up there. And obviously that wouldn't work because planes can't break the atmosphere. They can't break the gravitational pull of Earth. You know what can? A motherfucking Star Destroyer that comes and, like, just basically makes us weak, eliminates all of our military advantages, and then the Death Star rolls in. Oh, God, it would be a huge apocalypse. It would be the end of it all. Now... Man. Having said that, I don't think we're going to get a Death Star death anytime soon, because I don't know if the Death Star has hyperdrive capabilities. And if it does, I don't even know if the Empire knows we're here in our little backwater planet. So, other than the asteroids hurtling to Earth as we speak, I think we're safe from the Death Star.
Yeah, and I think also we have to remember that was a long time ago, so it would take them, I guess, unless you get into the whole light speed, warp speed thing, and like the time stream, that sort of, I guess that the time factor is no longer an obstacle, really, because you can just sort of jump through the time stream as you will. But
like when the Borg can they fold the universe basically so that they can travel at incredible speeds in Star Trek.
Yes.
Also, space-time is like a loaf of bread, and you can just travel within space-time. The time really is relative. So George Lucas may have thought that it happened a long time ago, but only because he didn't
decide to to travel to us.
Right, exactly.
I see. Yes.
Exactly.
All right, so
Ben,
my number 3 is biological warfare.
Okay.
Talk
about like sneezing on each other?
Plagues, I think, fall under this category. You've got global epidemics like Contagion. Yeah. If you saw that movie, that one was pretty great. You've got things like the
real-life Ebola.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which is
right.
very much like a sneezing, disease-passing sort of scenario that wipes out a majority of humanity. And the end credits actually efficiently showcase this idea. And you've got like, in comics too, like Y the Last Man. I think one of the big theories about the plague that wipes out all men except for Yorick and Ampersand, his pet monkey, is that the plague was caused by a chemical attack on China that went wrong. So there's all sorts of you can work in chemical attacks. You got the Ebola paranoia. You've got the whole thing, man. You've got
HIV, AIDS.
Yeah, and also just like the overpopulation, so everybody's sort of crowded in there next to each other, and then you've got that. You're always looking over your shoulder, and I don't know if you've been in a public place recently, Tyler, but it's hell out there.
Oh, it's horrible.
I tell you, and people are just complete monsters, just sneezing into the open air, refusing to cover their mouths when they cough.
Terrible. My buttocks is too good to rest upon the seats of public restrooms.
I mean, it is a hellhole. So for sure, I'm actually part of me, Tyler, is glad that asteroid is hurtling toward us right now, just so I won't have to deal with that anymore.
At least I can rest on my own toilet in my own home without worrying that someone's foul energy is seeping underneath the door.
That's how we should go out, is just sit on our respective toilets and just arms raised to the sky. Just take me!
Watching whatever leftover videos are on YouTube. That's my dream. That's the dream.
That's the way to go out right there.
My number 3 is going straight into the comic books, Ben. I'm talking about an apocalypse brought on by, not Apocalypse, but Galactus.
Ooh, okay.
So Galactus, he needs to eat planets to survive, Ben. He's a cosmic being. Who are we to say that what he's doing is wrong? But Reed Richards, of course, the do-good Boy Scout of the Marvel Universe, is like, no, Galactus, you can't eat and live at the expense of the human civilization. So the Silver Surfer comes down. He's like, I'm going to beat everybody up until, their loins are open for Sir Galactus. And he fights with the Fantastic Four, and they convince the Silver Surfer that, okay, planet Earth's pretty cool, that there's other uninhabited planets that Galactus could go to, even though Galactus is probably, much like as we were speaking earlier, like the Hungry Howie's Papa John's scenario, he wants Papa John's. He wants an inhabited planet. It makes it all the more sweet and decadent. He doesn't want some crummy rock like Mars or Venus or Mercury. He wants planet Earth. Planet Earth is in the orbit that perfectly microwaves it to a proper temperature and a particular flavor that Galactus enjoys.
Yeah, our human tears are like frosting or something for him.
Something about us makes it very, very attractive to Galactus. Now, Galactus, he doesn't care. He does not care whether we live or die. But the Silver Surfer eventually convinces him to stay away. But he comes back multiple times. Anyway, if I were a superhero, I guess I would defend the planet. But as a regular human with no superpowers at all, sure, why not? Galactus sounds okay. You get to see your comic books come to life instead of poorly in a movie. You see it in real life, face to face, and then you're done. It's over.
Who knows whether he actually gnashes down on the planet with his teeth, or maybe he swallows it whole and then the planet survives within his stomach.
Oh, interesting.
That could be, and like we suddenly become neighbor planets with, other planets that are all over the universe, or were originally located all over the universe.
Is there a sun in his belly?
I feel like one of the other planets has already figured that out, so I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say they've created like a man-made one somehow. Maybe they just like launched all their nukes into his stomach. And for him, it sort of feels like he ate bad Mexican food, but there's now like an ever-glowing sun in his stomach. So
well, it sounds like
we can survive, but it's just maybe a little darker. It's like daylight savings time or something.
It's like living in Iceland or something.
Hour earlier. So
well, that doesn't sound so bad then. So Galactus, he's still going to stay at number 3, but doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah.
Ben, number 2.
My number 2 is Alien Invasion. This one is a little bit more heightened version of the meteor asteroid one that you mentioned earlier. I assume they will arrive in ships, or maybe even as like tag-alongs on an asteroid or something.
Interesting, like a parasite.
Parasite. They're very, a lot of fictional alien races are very parasitic. I guess all alien races are fictional until we prove otherwise. But you've got all sorts of different aliens that you got your Cloverfield monsters. You got your Godzillas even. I mean, I don't know if that's like
that's a man-made monster,
but I feel
he's
like
alien to us because he's from the ocean.
Yeah, has Godzilla ever gone to space and fought?
I'm sure. Okay. Yes. I think at least Mecha Godzilla has.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So maybe Godzilla's not the best.
Things come from space, and Godzilla fights things from space.
Yeah, there you go. So,
yeah.
Your Mothras or what have you. Your Rodans, maybe.
Your Ghidorahs.
Yep, your Ghidorahs, and then all sorts of ne'er-do-well alien invaders.
Right.
So
I mean, even the alien from Alien could be
Yes,
if
the xenomorphs and all. Yeah,
a large enough army could take us down.
Yeah, definitely. I mean that one took down a considerable number of the crew on the Nostromo. So.
And of course, those sons of bitches from E.T. the extraterrestrial.
Yeah, and
listen,
then
what are you collecting our pine needles for?
Your predators as well. That's a whole race of hunters, basically.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Alien Invasion sounds. I mean, Independence Day.
Yep, and they're coming back.
That's coming back. Yeah.
Too.
Thank God Jeff Goldblum's coming back too. Life will find a way.
Yes.
But yeah, aliens, man, those guys. I'm sure there's more aliens that would come and invade us. Mars attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you go. Listeners, write us in. Let us know what your favorite aliens.
Aliens, yeah, that'd be great.
That would create an apocalypse. My number 2.
Coneheads,
Yeah. They wanted nothing more than to destroy the human race. If I know anything about the Coneheads. No, we know there's peaceful aliens as well. Men in Black was all about that.
Yep.
Men in Black 2, Men in Black 3.
Freaking roaches or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, what was another? Starship Troopers.
Oh, yeah. That was another insectoid species.
We could do this all day. So I understand. Your number 2 is aliens?
Yes.
My number 2 is going into DC Comics now. I'm talking about a huge cloud of antimatter, Ben. Now, if you're familiar with Crisis on Infinite Earths, that's it. If you're familiar with Crisis on Infinite Earths, one of the greatest comic book storylines of the 1980s, which is, I believe, episode 7 of the Fivecast with our good friend Taryn Jared. We talk about this, and the story begins with multiple universes succumbing to a white cloud of antimatter, just nothingness. Very similar to the nothing in the Neverending Story, but that was just one universe. This is infinite universes, Ben. Mm. And the weird thing about it is that the cloud of antimatter is coming at you from both ends. Now, I'm not talking about throwing up and pooping. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about from the beginning of time and the end of time, and the cloud of antimatter is moving towards the middle. Uh-oh. So you are seeing universes being destroyed, and also their timelines being destroyed from both ends. And of course, our heroes, Superman, The Flash, Batman to an extent, although he doesn't have superpowers, he doesn't do much. Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter. These guys are basically in the middle of their timelines, teaming up with other universes, trying to basically fight back this cloud of antimatter. And it is a very, very exciting story.
Is that the Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Indeed.
Is that they're just fighting this antimatter cloud the whole time?
Well, it turns out that the antimatter cloud is caused by the anti-monitor, but that's neither here nor there. The cloud itself is the apocalypse. Mm-hmm. But how would you like to see, like in the Galactus scenario, Ben, our planet is swallowed, right? Mm-hmm. So technically we do exist still. We're just in someone's stomach.
We're digesting slowly.
Yeah. In this scenario, you are completely wiped out. You no longer exist, nor have you ever existed, because the cloud has eliminated the beginning and the end of time.
That is horrifying.
Now, does heaven exist after that point? I'm not sure, Ben. That's why it's at number 2.
Okay.
Because in most of the scenarios, it's like, okay, well, we were there, but now we're gone, but at least we live on in the cosmic sense. But here, everything's being eliminated. So our physical selves, as well as possibly our spiritual selves, are being eliminated. And that is a scary thought.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing what your number 1 is. It's going to top that.
Well, it's a little more positive. It's got a more positive spin on it.
Okay.
Ben, number 1.
All right, my number 1 is your classic artificial intelligence takeover / robot uprising, Tyler. And this is your Judgment Days, your Terminators, your Matrices. You've got your just any sort of artificial intelligence that becomes too smart for its own good, that makes the decision that humanity is actually the problem here, and I got a pretty good idea of how I can run this shit without them. Yep. So they just put things into place in order to wreck us and screw up. And the reason that this is my number 1, Tyler, is because it's one of those things that you really don't see coming until it's too late.
Exactly.
It's one of those that it's the result of humanity's hubris, which I feel like is a a very rich thematic mine to go to. Yeah, it's basically of our own. It's all our fault. It's our own fault. It's our own. We're flying too close to the sun, and the freaking robots, man, they're coming to kill us all. So we screwed up big time, and we did not put enough safety precautions in place. We did not think that we were as smart. And the thing is we. In this scenario, we are smarter than we think we are. So it's like, damn, if we could only harness that intelligence in a more positive way. But no, it's now our downfall.
Right.
So, you got to give us some props for like the 10 seconds before the robots completely wipe us out.
Yeah.
That's my feeling anyway.
This perfect scenario is our creation. Well, perfect in the computer sense, because computers don't make mistakes. But yeah, like that's why Terminator Genisys was kind of on point when T2 came out. It was like, a military network system that controls everything? That's weird. That's not going to happen. But then Terminator Genisys is like, oh yeah, it's already there. It's in your phones. You just gotta sink in and you're done.
It's an app, baby. Come on.
Yeah, come on. And then who are the guys inventing these robots that when you try to push them down, they stand up still? It's like, You were just asking. You're asking the Terminators to get created. Because that... and I've seen it, and it's like, dude, you're doing exactly what the Terminator movies... We have the movies. Like, we know what happens when the Terminators
like Silicon
become
Valley,
sentient.
TJ Miller's trying to just kick in the face, and it just refuses to fall over. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like, what... I mean, yeah, I really do think they're asking for it. Like, what good could a vicious robot dog possibly do in the world?
I don't know. Everything. Tear your throat
they're just
out.
like, I feel like they might be falling into the classic trap of building them for like military purposes, and then you're weaponizing them, Tyler. Then you're giving them you're just handing them the gun. You're loading one in the chamber, pointing it at your own face and putting their finger on the trigger and telling them to pull it.
God,
basically.
when did Michael Moore become my co-host?
I resent that comparison.
But you're right. Yeah, that's what the Terminator movies are so good at, is that the Judgment Day can only be delayed. Can't be totally stopped. That's why we're looking at the face of an asteroid right now while we're... At least, give us this much. At least we're doing our thing, even in the face of complete annihilation.
Yes, we are.
And that, of course... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, nobody can ever take that away from us.
Did you hear that rumble, Ben?
Oh, God.
Is
it here?
Fivecast Studios. I should have built Fivecast Studios on something other than cardboard.
Oh, man.
Well, just to get quickly to my number one, Ben, even if the world does end, we might have the chance of battling it out even post-Earth, after Earth even, during Ragnarok, which is the Norse end of the world. Tolkien calls it Dagoreth, or something like that. And it's basically the end of time, end of all things. And in Norse mythology, the world is over, but you get to go into another realm of existence and just battle it out with dwarves and Odin and monsters. And then at night, you get to drink mead and party hard. And then the next day, the heavy metal music's turned back on and you're battling once again. It's just a constant state of battle, and that's what all Vikings strive to die for, right? And I think as podcasters, we're akin to the Viking. We try to go into parts unpillaged and unraped. And I think we do a pretty good job of that. We try to do all kinds of topics. And much like the Viking, Ben, I believe once this crude matter is gone, we'll have our cosmic entities, our cosmic podcast, to battle it out in the netherworld or wherever we're going to go. Man, just as long as that cloud of antimatter doesn't hit us, I think we're good.
Yeah, that is true. And we have visited the netherworld before, I believe as real estate agents briefly at one point in Fivecast history. So we know all about that place.
It's kind of cool, I guess, if you have something to stand on. A lot of it's just floating about. That's kind of what's annoying. Yep. But Ragnarok sounds awesome. Yeah. And I love heavy metal music. I love dwarves. I love axes. I love beating people up without the like the risk of death hanging over my head. Because I don't think you die in Ragnarok. You just battle it out, and like you lose an arm and it grows back the next day, something like that.
Yeah, resurrection plenty.
Yeah, it just sounds awesome. So as far as like what am I really looking for in an apocalypse? Ragnarok. What am I not looking for? Cloud of antimatter. So this asteroid's nothing compared to what we got going in the afterlife. So Ben, I'm hoping that we don't survive this, but I'm also hoping that we do, so that the 5cast can continue.
Yeah.
But if we do continue, of course, you can contact us via email, if the internet even exists at the end of time.
Right.
5castpodcast@gmail.com. Ben, where can the 5casters find you in cyberspace?
Well, we'll see if you can find me in cyberspace or any space at all. If I'm able to get into some sort of escape capsule and evacuate the planet before this massive asteroid comes and wipes us all out. But in the meantime, you can find me at geektyrant.com. You can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/Ben Pears. You can listen to, if you have time, if you listen to this and there's still maybe 30, 40 minutes before the asteroid hits.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the timeline is on that, Tyler. I've been busy podcasting, so I haven't really looked outside.
Minutes
away.
It's
minutes? Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, yeah.
Again, you should have spent your time with friends and family.
Yeah, you really made a mistake, I got to tell you.
I'm really good at procrastinating.
And yeah, I think, maybe bookmark it for the afterlife then. I would say bookmark it. njnmpodcast.blogspot.com. You can go back and listen to all 100 plus episodes of the old Not Just New Movies podcast and listen to us review movies that will no longer exist because it looks like the world is about to come to an end as we speak. Tyler, is that what's happening?
It's minutes away, buddy, but I really love that you
gotta throw in those plugs.
I gotta throw in those plugs that will no longer exist. But yeah, I mean, if the internet exists and you're favoriting the NJNM website, then I'm pretty sure the movies exist in the afterlife as well. So you won't be listening to like. Would that be weird if the movies didn't exist that we were reviewing, and then somebody listens and is like, "Well, I have no clue what they're talking about."
Wow, yeah, we better do a good job with those plot descriptions.
Earth Girls are easy. That's absurd. But yeah, check all that stuff out if you have time. But Ben, I'm gonna have to kindly ask if I can hold you while our last seconds here on this Earth pass us by.
Permission granted.
Ben, you're my best friend.
You're my best friend. We don't have the rights to that. You can't play that.
Take 5, and we might not see you next time. Bye-bye, buddy.
Take 5.
I'm the ghost of Ted Knight. It is the year 39.23 ADE, after the destruction of Earth. We find our two heroes amid laser fire, blowing winds, rumbling storms. Night has fallen. A monster truck charges across an empty wasteland. 2 occupants, one with an eye patch, the other with a podcast microphone for a hand. They step out of a monster truck Stargate Ferrari and begin unpacking large cubes of supplies.
I suppose this is a good place to stop for the night.
I didn't think we'd be able to escape that rogue band of muck people. They almost took us alive.
Would have never guessed that decades of nuclear tests and freshwater contamination could have turned regular human beings into walking piles of sludge.
Believe it, my man. And now we're forced to wander the irradiated wastelands of California, hoping future World War V runs its course with our names absent from the death toll.
No one knows us anymore, T. Ever since the Universal Podcast Network was shut off by the Minotaurian Cyborg Intergalactic World Commission, no citizen has been able to enjoy any of our 5cast episodes.
Like a bunch of animals. We've had to record on a local laptop. And on a Mac, no less. It's barbaric.
And don't forget about those whales, dude. Those laser gun-wielding, no-good, murderous orcas have no regard for human life and their rebellion against the Minotaur governments. Too many cosmetic tests on wildlife, I say.
Meh. I blame the whale warlocks that came down from space on that god-forsaken asteroid. And our voices.
Our voices! The dust, the grime, this dystopian society. It's done massive damage to our vocal cords. Our very livelihood, Tyler, for the love of God. Good thing we have enough Vicks 44 throat spray to buy supplies for the next couple of months.
That reminds me, old pal. Can I get a spray of that?
Just one. We're running low on this stuff.
Want to take a hit?
My wife says I should really hold off, but what the hey?
My wife. Hey.
Oh, wow. That sounds a lot better. Wait, you have a wife?
Yeah, man. Yeah, she's doing great.
Oh, good to know.
All right, Tyler, back to business. The future sucks. Let's talk about the top 5 worst aspects of our hellish dystopia.
All right, Ben, let's go ahead and get started with your number 5.
All right, Tyler, my number 5 is the lack of communication around this freaking place.
Critical.
Whale warlocks, man, they can't even tell us what they want. I
know.
There's a language barrier here that is impenetrable at this point. So, it's been years and
decades.
And we don't even know what these people, what these creatures, what anyone wants. The language is just it's like it's a barrier that I cannot overcome, Tyler. How have you dealt with it?
Well, I mean, all I can remember is in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, the best of the Star Trek movies. These whales came to Earth, and obviously the Starship Enterprise, the crew, couldn't communicate with them either. Mm-hmm. And we don't even have the freaking ability. We have whales that could communicate with these warlocks, but they've sided with them. And I think that's the worst part. So not only can we not communicate, which is key, but we also, we don't really have a good argument to keep the Terran whales from turning against us.
Right, and we're just sitting on the sidelines while these other species are able to communicate amongst themselves, and we're just sort of left in the dust. So that's one of the big things that I miss about a pre-apocalypse society is just the simple communication.
Yeah, like an AOL chat box. I as silly as it was, I miss the AOL chat box where you just see a screen name on your AIM messenger and just be like, I feel like talking to them. Click, click.
Yeah. Chuck Norris, 1985 or whatever. Yeah. Hey, what's up, buddy? How's it going?
Yeah. I used to come up with so many creative away messages.
That was the thing.
Yeah, you didn't have minutes on your cell phone. Yeah, it wasn't the kind of plans that obviously in the mid 2000s we had. Now it's like cell phones. Jeez. That there's
I
another
haven't seen one in 20 years probably.
I mean, most of them are used to as bricks to hold up a house.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, where are you now, Steve Jobs? Where's your turtleneck now?
What's your number 5?
My number 5 comes back to the people in charge of the government these days, the cyborg minotaurs. I mean, these guys literally came out of nowhere. Not only did I don't know if you remember that episode we did about top 5 apocalypses, but you mentioned one of them was the rise of the machines, basically, technology. Yeah. Well, our treatment of wildlife merged with the rise of technology, and we not only got minotaurs, but we also got cybernetic minotaurs, so they're even more comparable. They're harder to defeat, basically, so they're not just flesh and blood like your regular minotaur. They're now cybernetic beings, and they can regenerate, they can communicate at will, they have a hive mind. It's very frustrating. And they're also in charge of the government. We didn't vote these guys in.
Yeah,
what happened to democracy?
That was a straight-up coup d'etat of the Minotaurian vibe.
I mean, all 535 members of Congress evacuated their bowels when they saw the first cyborg Minotaur just rise up and say, hand it over, and they were done. What are we paying for here?
I think CNN covered that right before the network was obliterated and television became nothing more than a memory.
Wolf Blitzer was gored on screen by one of these Minotaur guys. They have huge horns.
Yeah, who would have ever thought that the final episode, or what we thought was the final episode of the Fivecast, would have been prophetic in some way?
I know.
Normally we're
It's
just
crazy.
sort of bullshitting around, but that one we're talking about the ways the world could end. The world freaking ended, and then another way that the world could end ended up happening and rising up right around us. It's insane.
It's a delicate web of cards or whatever. House of Cards. Man, I miss that show. But yeah, once one goes down, they all go down. And it's even worse because the cyborg minotaurs wrangle us up. They put us, hurt us, I guess. And then they turn us into rugs, and they wipe their hooves on us.
They take pretty gruesome things.
Yeah, they take our skin and then they put them in front of their doors, and then as they walk into their abodes, they wipe their hooves on our skin. It's so barbaric.
It's barbaric. It's disrespectful.
Oh yeah, I mean we're human beings, man. I don't know.
I mean, how? Yeah, it's crazy. How many of us do you think there are left, human beings? I haven't seen another one aside from you in probably at least 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's you and there's me. There's your wife somewhere out there.
Yeah, she's around.
A la Five O Goes West, or I guess the original, the American Tail, somewhere out there. I think I want to say Van Damme's out there somewhere, like in Canada. Like I know he tried to raise an army against the Canadian Prime Minotaur.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it didn't end well. Yeah, ironically enough, they made him do the splits and then ripped him in half.
Oh God.
Yeah, he was gored. It was a pretty celebratory way of destroying the great man. I'm surprised he lived that long. I mean, you would think he would have some experience being in the movie Cyborg, but he could not. He could not beat the Cyborg Minotaurs.
Yeah, bummer.
Well, on that note, Ben, you're number 4.
My number 4 is the virtual reality blending with actual reality.
Ooh, interesting.
And this is another thing that I think those damn Cyborg Minotaurs. This is one of the ways, Tyler, and you know this. This is how they wiped out a large portion of humanity.
Yeah.
Luckily, there were smart enough people, you, me, my wife, that managed to get out quickly enough, and we didn't fall prey to this. But right. Tyler, you remember a long time ago, back in the pre-apocalypse days,
boy do I,
this movie called The Matrix. You remember that?
I believe so. Is that with Keanu?
Yes.
Reeves?
Oh man, it's been so long since that word has touched your lips. Yes, Keanu Reeves. That's the one. So basically, Tyler, I'll just give you a little recap.
Sure.
Just to refresh, since it has been 50-something years since that movie came out. So basically, the larger plot is that machines have taken over, and the way that they've done this is they're harvesting humans, and they have us plugged into this bizarre alternate reality where we think we're living our lives one way, but in actuality, we're just human batteries for the machines.
Okay.
So
I do remember that plot point.
Basically, it seems to me that the Cyborg Minotaurs sort of just took a page from that book and decided to introduce slowly the concept of virtual reality. And Tyler, right before the apocalypse, right before that damn asteroid laid waste to a large portion of this
destruction,
planet, the virtual reality industry was sort of gaining steam there. It seemed like there was a lot of hope about it, a lot of technological advances, and people going, "Hey, this isn't just like an old Virtual Boy thing anymore. This is like a real kind of deal." Little did we know that those were just the earliest vestiges of the Cyborg Minotaurs, sort of insidiously infecting our culture just to get people addicted to virtual reality. They actually ended up blending it with real reality in some cases, where people didn't know what was real, what was fake, and then eventually everyone just got fried. Their brains just couldn't handle it. So only the select few that realized what was going on, that sort of saw the deja vu, if you will, and took the blue pill or whatever other Matrix references you want to make here.
Right.
Only those are the ones that survived, and luckily you and I are members of the few, the proud, the survivors,
the humans. Yeah, I remember that critical day. I was just about to slip a VR headset on my head, and you like grabbed my wrist, and you were like, "Not today." Like something just like you. It was a weird feeling you got, and I went with it. And then the next day, boom! Asteroid hits. People that were on their VR sets were completely isolated. They either died or they stayed in the VR because obviously the world was covered in smog and dust, and we haven't seen the sun in decades.
It was falling apart around them, and they didn't even know that the asteroid hit because virtual reality was that good. It got to that point, and that's where they get you. Those freaking
Now they think the Minecraft cubes are the real worlds. Well, I mean, I'm kind of jealous of them because obviously we have to deal with these whales and these minotaurs and this not seeing another the wasteland, not seeing another human being for years. You missing out on like hanging out with your wife and stuff. Like, this sucks. It's like bites the balls, man.
It is, yes, it is certainly a hellish existence.
My number 4, to kind of piggyback on that, is the famine, the great famine of the post-apocalyptic world where food is scarce. Most of the vegetation died, a la, the dinosaurs when the first great asteroid hit planet Earth back, 65 million years ago. All the dinosaurs died. And I'm sure a few of them stuck around and maybe podcasted for a little longer. But with us, the same thing. Like, we had all this vegetation, all this fruit. All of a sudden, asteroid hits, it's all gone. And so, we got the VIX. That's kind of food. I don't really know for sure. And, mostly we, dirt and nickel and stuff. Just basically your bare materials, your rare rocks every once in a while can kind of give me some sustenance.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Tyler, do you remember what a steak used to taste like?
Oh my God, the Minotaurs, they weaponized all the cows.
They did,
and so now we can't even get a freaking steak.
But man, I tell you what, I never would have thought when back in those days when I was eating steak that I would appreciate the tumbleweed as much as I do now. But that is a full course meal to me now. Anytime I see one across the irradiated wasteland, and I chase that thing down for as long as it takes until I can make it a full meal.
Every once in a while, we'll come across a crazy farmer with 3 eyes, and they'll have a little corn farm or something right on the side of their house. But most of the time, that corn is irradiated, and so we just have to move on. And it's really sad. We just jump back into the monster truck Stargate Ferrari and just kind of mosey along. But yeah, every once in a while, we'll see some sugar packs that have been left over from abandoned Starbuckses. That is a good day.
And that's once every 5 years or so.
I mean, the Starbucks used to be everywhere. Now there's, I don't know, 12?
Yeah,
12 of them left, yeah. And they're all in a different part of the continent, so we mostly just bounce around between those 12 Starbucks. That's really all we have left to do in life.
We got to keep moving, man.
That and record the podcast, I suppose.
It's a shame that Chinese restaurant got taken out in the blast.
Oh, do you remember that Chinese restaurant? A couple of egg rolls.
We recorded so many episodes of Not Just New Movies After Midnight there.
Great times. But yeah, the famine, lack of food sucks hard. Nuts, man.
Yeah, it's awful.
Then number 3. My stomach's grumbling just thinking about it.
Yeah, mine is not quite as visceral as yours, but one that I'm still pissed off about nonetheless, and that is that we never found out the real ending of Game of Thrones, Tyler.
Ah, yes.
The show was just getting interesting. It was ramping up, and then George R. R. Martin tried to make a deal with the cyborg Minotaurs.
Oh, God.
He was gored instantly, so we couldn't even figure it out. I mean, obviously, the production, the sets, the television, HBO as a network, and television as a medium was completely wiped out pretty quickly within the first, I think, 2 years, if memory serves right.
Oh, yeah.
But then George R. R. Martin was still around. He survived the blast, and we were like, okay, thank God, at least, we'll have some way to entertain ourselves in the this hellish landscape that we're living in. At least we can maybe get him to finish the story at least. But then I don't know what the hell he was thinking, Tyler, but he tried to make a deal with the cyborg Minotaurs.
His first mistake.
I don't know what he was doing, but he was gored, and we heard it all on the crackling radio, and nobody's seen him since. It's not great. And now the thing that really pisses me off more than anything is all the fan fiction that's sprouted up since then.
Yeah. It's terrible.
There were, I don't know, a couple hundred survivors who had read all the books, and they thought that they were good enough to join together and try to rewrite the ending or what they thought was going to be the ending. It's just garbage. I mean, it's so bad. Why even bother? I mean, when
the asteroid hit, all schools were eliminated, basically. You didn't have to go to school anymore because obviously society was over. Yeah. Civilization was done, so nobody learned how to read or write, and they were just I guess I could write Game of Thrones fan fiction. All of a sudden it was the internet all over again, people just writing stuff they know nothing about.
Yeah, man, they really
sick burn internet.
You know nothing, John Internet.
That kind of bleeds into my number 3. Just the lack of television overall, I think, is something that really sucks about this future. I mean, like we said, we bounce around to the 12 remaining Starbucks that just so happen to every once in a while have packets of sugar that we could eat.
Yep.
And there's really nothing going on. We banter back and forth during these podcasts that no one ever hears because we have to record it on this laptop of yours. But I mean, in between those, it would be nice to like catch up with Game of Thrones, House of Cards, maybe American Pickers every once in a while over there
or
on
one
the
of those
History
Bob
Channel.
Newhart shows you used to watch all the time.
That would have been fantastic to catch reruns of Newhart in this post-apocalyptic future. But no, sir. Total destruction of television as we know it. I mean, like you said, we get some AM, FM radio every once in a while because people put it next to their iPods or something. But man, that it is just not the same. To
Really
think
not.
that, and the Cyborg Minotaurs, they don't even want television. They don't even produce television. Like, we could at least watch like a soap opera that only stars Cyborg Minotaurs. But they are only concerned with destroying us and, you know, making war with the whale warlocks. Ugh. Like, no one seems to be settled down enough to say, hey, maybe we could produce some entertainment. So instead, we're stuck with this
Well,
hellish
Tyler,
dystopia.
moving on to my number 2, one of the things that was the most entertaining after we found out the truth behind it was the 3 years that we spent in a colorless world during the nuclear fallout.
Yeah.
And Tyler, of course you remember this because it happened to every survivor. Right after the nuclear testing happened, everyone, all of our vision, we just lost all color. So we were living in an AHA music video, basically,
It sucked.
for 3 years, and we thought that we would never see color again.
It was now to be fair, it was fun for a while.
It was fun for just a quick tick, and then
about the length of the AHA video.
It became horrifying very quickly. Yeah, as soon as everyone recreated the AHA video in their own homes,
right?
Or what was
or
left
bomb
of it,
shelters,
right? It became a very scary scenario very quickly, and we realized that it was, color is actually a pretty important thing.
Yeah, it was weird.
Having everything that you even see at all be just black, white, or gray was more challenging for survival than frankly what we needed at the time. We could have used the help of being able to see in color, but that's not the way the Fallout went. And man, we were all on edge there for a little while, and then all of a sudden, just like slowly over the course of I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I think it was. Everyone just slowly regained certain colors at a time. Red came first, and then everything else just fell into place, and we're like, oh well. I guess we're fine then, but it was one of those things that it really pissed me off at the time, Tyler. I got to tell you, that's one of the worst things about the post-apocalyptic future.
Well, we did get a pretty cool podcast out of it, Black, White, or Gray, where Ben and I would just show each other different objects, and we'd record our conversations, and we would try to guess. We basically try to see what was black, what was white, and what was gray. And it was popular for a while, I guess, but then they shut down the podcast network, and nobody could hear about whether we found black objects, white objects, or gray objects.
Yeah, I guess the Intergalactic World Commission was just really pissed off that that people were listening to us more than they were listening to their Cyborg Minotaur.
To the propaganda.
Yeah, propaganda channel. So, I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's why it was pretty cool for a while. We were public enemy number 1.
Yeah, that was the most notoriety we'd ever had. Most listeners we'd ever had, for sure. I think there were only like 100 plus survivors, but all of them were listening to our show.
Yeah,
so
it was pretty cool.
Probably more than we ever got in the pre-apocalypse days when there were billions of people on Earth. So. Yeah.
Way to dig on the 5cast, bro.
I'm just saying, we know our place, and we rose, we ascended through the ranks due to the sheer availability of other podcasters, which there were none. So it was us. We cornered the market.
We had the supply, we had to create the demand.
Exactly. Yeah.
My number 2 is the weaponized space whales. I mean, the asteroid was bad enough, but
those sons of bitches.
They came riding this damn asteroid, these space whales, and they had weapons beyond our comprehension. They were able to zap us at a moment's notice. So people were running scared in hives, and they were being zapped away by these space whales. We couldn't communicate with them, as you already mentioned. And they went into the oceans and called upon their brethren, their intergalactic brethren, and were able to communicate. So they felt that the whales of our oceans were up to snuff, while the human beings, which really written society for the most part, they were no longer necessary. We were kind of like pests. And so now they sit in our sofas and they watch our they watch our high def movies, and man, it's just it's not bad enough that they're from space. It's also that they're weaponized.
Yeah, and one of the
they can fly.
One of the most horrifying images that I can remember from this entire past 30 plus years, Tyler, has been seared into my brain that will never go away, and that is during one of the extinction level events where they just laser blasted everyone that they could find into dust, basically. We were all on the run, obviously, and this one guy that I met in a supermarket, I think, and then he was looking for food for his family. We were all on the run. They were right there on our heels, and he stopped, and I was like, "Hey man, come on, we gotta keep going. We gotta survive here." And he's like, "No, I just want to know what they want." He stopped to turn around. I had to leave him, Tyler. I had to leave him behind.
Yeah.
But I remember looking back over my shoulder, sprinting at a full on run, and he just faced down the laser blasts and was just like, "What do you want?" And then because of the communication thing, no one knows. And
Dave never stood a chance.
Oh man, Dave, that poor. That's right. That was him I met in that supermarket. I forgot.
Yeah, we forget his countenance every once in a while. But it was kind of lucky though, because when the whales arrived, I was able to steal some Star Trek memorabilia, and I got Spock's white robe and headband from Star Trek 4. And
Excellent.
So while we were running away from the space whales, I was like trying to like mind meld with them, and well, that didn't work obviously because I'm not a Vulcan.
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool to get that piece of cinematic history. So yeah. I mean, there was one good thing that came out of the space whale arrival.
That's true.
Well, Ben, I mean, we only have a few minutes left with that Vix. You want to talk about your number one?
Yeah, so my number one, the constant hassle of not being stepped on by the Godzilla-sized kaiju that are just wandering the earth.
This is the worst.
You have to just every couple minutes just look up, just constantly look up, look around, take measure of your surroundings, and make sure that you're not going to get stomped on, because these guys are they're going crazy. I don't know whether Tyler, we only have probably 2 scientists left on the planet.
Yeah,
and
I'm one of them.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You are? Wow.
I'm a terrible scientist, though.
So I don't know what the other one's working on. I don't know what you've been working on, what you've learned or anything recently. But all of the AM/FM radio broadcasts have stopped. Basically, the radio's been nothing but static for years. But so I don't know whether these kaiju, these massive creatures, came from above, came from below, if they came from nuclear testing that sort of gave us all the aha vision for a little while, or any sort of combination of all three, or any other factor that I'm not taking into account here. Well, but there are, I don't know, I've seen with my own eyes at least 40 different creatures that are hundreds, if not thousands of feet tall, just stomping across the wasteland, across whatever remains of society and little cities that people have formed, and they're just crushing buildings left and right. They seem to have it's a random pattern as far as I can tell. They never really go anywhere. They're just moving constantly. So you just got to be on the lookout. I've lost 3 or 4 friends to stomping.
Well, Ben, I hate to break it to you.
Yeah.
I know what happened.
Oh, you do?
The cyborg minotaurs, almost immediately stumbled across Netflix and watched every single episode of Power Rangers. And
of course,
in their madness, they cybernetically constructed every single monster that the Power Rangers went up against and let them loose on the planet. And so, like, you're not as big a fan of Power Rangers as I am. You may not recognize them, but I do.
Okay.
And there's that pig that eats everything. There's that really gold guy with a gold R. Lord Zed is constantly up our ass. Like, we always seem to find... I think they may have made multiple Lord Zeds. But we're always running into him.
So this is a cybernetic Lord Zed, then?
Oh, yeah.
It's a Minotaurian-made cybernetic Lord
Yeah, but it's completely functional. It's completely, sentient.
Screen accurate?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Like, if the comic book collectible society was still around, people would be collecting these things. They are perfectly detailed, complete, like, right off the screen, jumping right off the screen, buddy.
Man.
Except they're bent on our complete annihilation.
Yeah, and I guess they should have figured out, like, they should have programmed them or something to actually do something, because they're really just wandering in giant circles, just crushing things left and right. So I don't know what their game plan is. But...
I think their next plan is, like, every iteration of Godzilla. They're just going to watch every Godzilla movie, and then we'll have, like, multiple Godzilla moving around for no reason.
God help us all.
My number one, Ben, to kind of speak on your comment here, I'm going to say the total disregard for common decency. I mean, not just from the Minotaurs. Like, no decency there. Just no humanitarian aid from them. The space whales, obviously, they don't give a fuck. And the last, the few hundred people that are still around, they are only out for themselves.
They really are.
It's mind-boggling. Like,
it's embarrassing is what it is.
I mean, we'll share some Vicks every once in a while. It's kind of like currency these days. Mm-hmm. You gotta trade, you gotta barter. And Vicks spray helps the vocal cords, so we use that as kind of a currency. And, if we see a little kid, they're out in the wasteland, they're coughing away, maybe playing with a ball that's no longer inflated, like, we give him a little spray, Like, help that kid out. And then, you remember the kid from last week? He was totally slaughtered by some guy. After, like, 2 seconds, we gave him the spray. He was like, "Thanks, mister." And then totally picked up by one of those kaiju. So it was just common decency is gone. People just aren't shaking hands anymore. We're grunting as we pass each other, but that's it. Like, there's no...
The rare occasion that we pass as another living human.
There's no
You
chair.
would think that everyone would want to embrace, the few remaining survivors and actually, like, commiserate about this experience, but it seems like everyone sort of retreated into their own holes, and it's a desperate place out here.
They've lost faith in our species, and they no longer care for each other. So I'm glad you agree with me that there should be some more decent behavior these days, even though there are very few of us left. I don't know, man. It's just, sometimes it makes me tear up a little bit. I think I might cry a little bit. Ben, did you have any thoughts on common decency?
It's okay, Tyler. It's all right. We got to be strong. We've been strong this whole time. It's been 30 plus years. We've made it this far. Got to figure out something to do.
Do you want to like drive up in the Stargate Ferrari monster truck up to that first Starbucks in Seattle, or what's left of Seattle?
I think we owe it to ourselves to at least try to get one more sugar packet. So I guess let's jump in the car and head that way.
Well, that's the end of our list. We've crunched the numbers. That's the end of this show. Oh, my voice is
it's starting to get scratchy again.
Mine too. Damn it all to hell, this Vicks only lasts half an hour. Such a commodity, yet such a curse.
Damn. The wind's really picking up. And the lightning is tremendous. You don't think?
Tyler, make haste. It's a Minotaurian military starship.
Human 00596 and Human 00348. You have been scanned and analyzed. Your existence is in conflict with the Intergalactic World Commission's regulations on overpopulated Terran wildlife. Prepare to be terminated.
Fuck! They still have us on file. And they want to kill us.
I don't think I can survive another one of these close calls, dude. I'ma just overdose on Vicks, man. The sweet release of death.
Don't give up, Ben. If I could just manage to recalibrate the monster truck's artillery laser cannon.
By the gods, the starship is no more. But who took it down with such force? Not even the whale warlocks and their armies could take down a vessel so quickly.
Greetings, lads.
The blessings of Lord Chancellor Schwarzenegger and Dugmarin Brightmantle are upon you, young warriors. By the very fibers of Tarantino, from where do you arrive, and how does your countenance mimic ours?
Yeah, what he said.
I am Hod Podman Tyler of the House Leon Creek. This is Dune Father Ben from House Manfred Man. We travel to your time from across the cosmos, millions of light years away, in another corner of the universe. We apologize for the inconvenience we have caused you.
What inconvenience have you caused us? You just saved our asses from becoming Minotaur laser dust. Many millennia ago, on our homeworld of Solhaven, we received transmissions of a strange, list-based radio show that wasn't on the radio. You could access it any time you wanted, day or night. It was called the Fivecast.
Yeah, we call those radio shows podcasts.
Podcasts.
Fascinating.
Our world's many societies harmonized under this podcast and formed a utopia that led to thousands of years of progress, compassion, peace, and love. But we flew too close to the Red Dwarf, and our science surpassed anything we could have imagined.
Our brethren, the warlocks of the deep oceans, disagreed with our experiments and left Solhaven to find another place to call home. They seem to have found it here on planet MW 10081.3.
We never wanted our political disagreements to uplift an entire planetary society. We will speak with the Iraqi leaders and make peace on your planet as soon as possible.
Sounds nice. But what about the decades of hell we've been through? Our warp ship, Quest 69, has the ability to transcend time and space. It is how we came to your Earth so quickly. We could readjust the controls to allow a human to operate it, and you could travel back in time to a point where this timeline becomes obsolete.
But wouldn't that make, you obsolete?
No, you are not thinking fourth-dimensionally here. Our society has been around for eons. We would not be affected by events in this part of the universe.
Then how did you get our Fivecast episodes thousands of years ago?
Listen, do you want the warp ship or not?
Okay, we'll take it. We'll go back in time, stop the asteroid, and, maybe avert future World Wars 3 through 5 from happening.
Sounds good. Thanks, Alien Tyler and Alien Ben. I have lots of questions for you, but we gotta go.
Peace out, suckers. Enjoy those bitch Minotaurs and privatized healthcare system.
Minotaurs?
Our system showed no presence of Minotaurs.
Hey, we're back in 2016, right above the Earth. What a beautiful marble.
Ben, watch out!
But yeah, check all that stuff out if you have time. But Ben, I'm gonna have to kindly ask if I can hold you while our last seconds here on this Earth pass us by.
Permission granted.
Ben, you're my Wait a tick. That streak across the sky. It just landed dead center into the asteroid.
It split the damn thing in half. Its trajectory is off. It might miss us.
Holy hell. Look, the news is back on. It says we're saved.
Boy, oh boy, what a relief. I just bought stock in the Dump Meals cookbook.
That investment should pay off, buddy. Looks like the apocalypse has just been averted. But I wonder who's responsible.
I guess we'll never know. And you can listen to the old episodes of the Not Just New Movies podcast at njnmpodcast.blogspot.com.
Well, now that we're surviving, I guess we could bring that show back, you know?
I think we should, yeah.
Yeah, you never know. But until next week, we'll definitely see you. Take 5, buddy.
Take 5.